All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling Deloitte,
Ooh, Deloitte.
but not just from, like, the corporate website. We're going straight to employee reviews.
Ah, the nitty-gritty.
Yep, straight from folks who've worked at Deloitte Singapore.
So we get the real deal.
Exactly.
Oh.
Now, just a super quick background for anyone who's not, like, living and breathing finance. Deloitte's one of the big four accounting firms.
Global heavy hitters.
Huge.
Yeah.
Auditing, consulting, all that.
High stakes.
High stakes is right, but is it all it's cracked up to be? That's what we're here to find out.
This juicy stuff.
Okay, so overall, Deloitte's sitting at a respectable 3.9 out of 5 stars.
Not too shabby.
Not bad at all. And 77% of employees say they'd recommend it to a friend.
Interesting.
Right, but like with any average rating, you got to wonder, what's lurking beneath the surface?
Totally. Some people might be over the moon while others are like running for the hills.
Exactly. So let's kick things off with the good stuff. What are people loving about Deloitte?
Well, one thing that pops up constantly is career opportunities.
Makes sense. Big company, tons of potential, right?
Exactly. Deloitte's known for throwing you right into the action, working with huge companies.
Trial by fire.
But that kind of experience early on, gold,
Yeah.
especially for ambitious folks.
And one reviewer actually said, you get the chance to work with great people that are very driven and know their subject area very well.
It's like a built-in network of experts.
Yeah. Pushing each other to learn and grow.
That kind of environment can be super motivating. If you're surrounded by that level of talent, you got to step up your game, right?
Totally. And speaking of stepping up, a lot of reviews mention Deloitte's flexible work culture.
Oh, really? Didn't expect that.
Right. You wouldn't necessarily think Big Four accounting firm and flexible go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's surprising.
But one person said, work culture is good, and the flexibility is also great as there are no strict timings to follow. So maybe they're more progressive than we think.
Could be. But makes you wonder, is it consistent across the whole company?
Ooh, good point. Different departments, different teams, different managers. It could vary wildly.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to do your own digging. Don't just rely on the company's overall image.
Right. Talk to people, get the inside scoop. But for now, let's switch gears and talk about the not-so-glowing aspects of Deloitte life.
Oh, there's got to be some, right? No place is perfect.
And the one that jumps out immediately, work-life balance.
Yeah, the age-old struggle.
And it's not just a few complaints sprinkled here and there. We're talking 11,138 reviews mentioning this.
Wow, that's a lot.
Clearly something's up. One employee said, no work-life balance and not easy to grow if you're not willing to work crazy hours.
Yikes. So maybe that flexibility we talked about has a dark side.
Maybe. Like maybe you can technically leave at 5 p.m., but everyone else is still grinding away.
The unspoken pressure.
Yeah, that can be tough. Makes you wonder, is this just the reality of working at a high-powered firm like Deloitte?
Or is it a sign of something deeper? Maybe unrealistic expectations from management, you know?
That's a good question for our listeners to ponder. What's the trade-off you're willing to make? Ambition versus burnout. Tough choices.
And here's the thing. The reviews paint this really fascinating, contradictory picture.
Ah.
Yeah. On one hand, people rave about the culture, the learning opportunities.
The classic pros and cons dilemma.
But then, bam. Long hours, intense pressure.
It's like a love-hate relationship with your job.
Exactly. Like this one review, good structured working environment with many opportunities to learn.
It's promising.
But long hours for more than half the year.
Oof, there it is.
So it makes you wonder, is it worth it? Is this just the price of admission to the big leagues?
And is it different across departments? Maybe audit is crazy, but consulting's more chill.
These are the questions you gotta ask before jumping into the Deloitte deep end.
Exactly. And speaking of deep ends, let's wade into the money talk.
Oh, compensation. Always a hot topic.
Always. And there's a bit of, shall we say, drama brewing in the reviews when it comes to Deloitte's pay.
Interesting. Spill the tea.
Well, a lot of reviewers are saying Deloitte might be the lowest payer among the big four.
Seriously? For both salary and bonuses?
Sounds like it. One person even said their salary just didn't match the crazy workload.
Ouch, that's gotta sting, especially when you're already sacrificing your free time.
Right. One review was just brutal. Poor work-life balance, poor compensation compared to the hours worked, poor benefits, poor leadership and management.
Damn. That's harsh.
Yeah, not exactly a glowing endorsement.
Yeah.
So, big question for our listeners, how important is money to you?
Right. Is a lower salary acceptable if the career opportunities are amazing?
Or are you looking for a company that values your time and your skills from the get-go?
Good food for thought.
Now, here's another twist that's popped up recently. It seems Deloitte's shifting back to mandatory in-office work.
What? After everyone got used to that hybrid life?
Seems so. And people are not happy about it.
Yeah, that's rough.
One person even complained about like an hour-and-a-half commute each way when they could be working from home just as easily.
Ugh, I feel that pain.
Right. Like dangle the freedom, then yank it away.
That can really damage morale.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it makes you think, is Deloitte out of touch with how people want to work these days?
It's like this clash of the old school corporate world and the new wave of like work from anywhere expectations.
And who's going to win that battle?
Big question. One for all of us to watch, really, not just at Deloitte, but across the entire job market.
Because this is the future of work, right?
Yeah.
Figuring out how to balance flexibility with, I don't know, whatever the company wants, I guess.
It's a whole new world out there.
Definitely. But we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to unpack in these Deloitte reviews.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started. Buckle up.
So stick around. We'll be right back with even more juicy insights.
The deep dive continues.
Okay, so before we got all deep into like the work-life balance and the money stuff, we talked about Deloitte's flexible work culture.
Right.
But looking at these reviews, it kind of seems like, well, not so simple, you know?
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Like, some people are all about it. No strict timings, loving the flexibility.
Right. But then others are talking about like problems getting leave approved, even when it's supposed to be okay according to the rules.
Yeah, policies on paper versus reality.
Totally. Like one person said, even though there is flexi leave, the HR in charge might not approve it because you might be booked. And it's annoying because technically you're entitled to your annual leave.
Ah, the classic technically loophole.
It's like, what's the point of having a flexible leave policy if you
Yeah.
can't actually use it, right?
Exactly. So is this a Deloitte-wide thing, or is it more about individual managers and teams, doing their own thing?
It's a good question, right? Like, is it a company culture problem or a few bad apples?
Definitely something to investigate further.
And it's not just about vacation time either. Some people are even talking about being expected to work while they're on leave.
Oh, no, come on, that's not a vacation.
I know. It's like one person said, they expect you to work while you're on leave. Probably the most demotivating factor when you're told to be on standby and check laptop while you're on leave. The whole purpose of leave is to relax and unwind from work, but you're being told to work during leave.
Yeah, that completely defeats the purpose.
Totally. Makes you wonder, like, if they can't even respect vacation time, what does that say about the whole work-life balance thing?
It's definitely a bit of a red flag. Like, where do they draw the line?
And it kind of goes back to that whole disconnect we've been seeing,
Yeah.
right? Official policies versus what actually happens.
Right. We saw it with the flexible leave thing, and we saw it with that whole back to the office situation.
Like, Deloitte's trying to be all modern and flexible, but then they pull stuff like that.
It can leave employees feeling pretty frustrated.
Totally. Like whiplash.
Yeah.
So let's talk money for a minute.
Compensation time.
Yeah. We already mentioned that Deloitte might be the stingiest of the big four when it comes to pay.
We did. Any, concrete examples of that in the reviews?
Oh, yeah, plenty. One person straight up said, lowest salary among all big fours by up to 20%. Stingiest big four firm to do a pay CUT when all other firms are raising pay.
Wow. That's a pretty big difference.
Right. And another person was like, lowest pay among big four audit. Management decisions are outdated and a step backward.
So it's not just about the money itself, but also what it says about how Deloitte values its employees.
Exactly. Like, are they just trying to save money? Or do they think other perks make up for it?
Big question.
Because, like, you're putting in the hours, dealing with the pressure. You deserve to be paid fairly.
Absolutely.
One person even accused Deloitte of fake PR activities by advertising a 20% pay increase for new hires, which is funded by cutting already below market rate pay for existing hires. Now, who knows if that's actually true?
Right. Got to take those with a grain of salt.
But it shows how important it is to, really research the compensation situation before you sign on the dotted line.
For sure. Don't just rely on what they tell you in the interview. Talk to people. Get the real story.
Okay, now speaking of important stuff, let's talk about management and leadership.
Ooh, yeah. That can make or break a job.
Absolutely. And it seems like, it's kind of all over the map at Deloitte. Based on these reviews,
Interesting. What are people saying?
some people are, really negative. They're calling their managers micromanaging, demanding, even unprofessional.
Yikes. Not great.
And some just flat out say poor leadership and management.
Oof. Tough crowd.
So if it's really that bad, what's Deloitte doing about it? Like, are they training their managers properly?
Right. Are they fostering a positive leadership culture? These are important questions.
Because at the end of the day, your manager can make your life amazing or miserable.
Couldn't agree more.
And it seems like there are some great leaders at Deloitte, too. Don't get me wrong. Some people are praising their managers, saying they're supportive and helpful and actually care about their development.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Right. One person even said their team was family-friendly, which is pretty awesome, especially in, like, the cutthroat corporate world.
Yeah. Not something you hear every day.
So, like with everything else, it's a mixed bag.
For sure.
But it shows how important it is to do your research, talk to people, try to get a sense of the management style in the specific team or department you're interested in.
Totally. Ask questions in your interview. Don't be shy.
Now, despite all the challenges and concerns we've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
there's one thing that keeps coming up in a positive light.
Oh, what's that?
Learning opportunities.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Even people who complain about, like, the long hours and the pressure, they still admit that they're learning a ton at Deloitte.
Yeah, that's got to count for something.
Totally. One review said, good structured working environment with many opportunities to learn.
So even if it's intense, you're getting a lot of valuable experience.
Exactly. And another person mentioned the steep learning curve, but they also talked about being exposed to a lot of different projects
Yeah.
and working with top clients.
So trial by fire, but you come out stronger.
Basically.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to that question of, what are you willing to give up?
Right. The trade-offs.
Is the career boost worth sacrificing your personal time?
It's a personal decision, and that's what makes these deep dives so cool. We're not here to tell you what to think.
That,
We're just laying it all out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
so you can decide what matters most to you.
Exactly.
And on that note, I think it's time to move on to our final thoughts. Wrap this whole thing up.
Sounds good.
Back in a sec. Okay, welcome back to the final part of our Deloitte deep dive. We've gone through a lot, right?
We have, from those awesome learning opportunities to, well, some pretty intense stuff about work-life balance and pay.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride through these reviews.
Totally. But that's what's so great about them, They give you that real unfiltered look at what it's actually like to work somewhere, not the polished, corporate brochure version.
So true. And for anyone out there thinking about a career at Deloitte, this is essential intel, right?
Absolutely. It helps you make a smart decision, one that's right for you. So, let's cut to the chase. What does all this mean for our listeners? How do you figure out if Deloitte is the right fit with all these different opinions flying around?
Right. How do you even begin to process all this?
Well, first things first, you got to be super honest with yourself about what you're looking for in a job.
Your priorities.
Exactly. What are your non-negotiables? Work-life balance, money, a certain kind of company vibe.
Because no company's perfect, right?
No way. There are always trade-offs.
So it's about figuring out which trade-offs you're okay with.
Exactly. If you're someone who loves a fast-paced environment, you're driven, you want to learn and grow quickly, even if it means long hours, Deloitte could be amazing for you.
You're surrounded by smart people, working on big projects, getting experience you won't find just anywhere.
But on the flip side, if work-life balance is your top priority and you're not cool with, that always-on expectation, maybe Deloitte's not the best fit right now. At least not until things change, with the whole work-from-home situation and all that.
Right, it's a gamble. And we can't forget about the money. We saw a lot of reviews saying Deloitte's not as generous as the other Big Four firms.
True. So you got to weigh that, right? Are the other perks, like the prestige and the training, worth a smaller paycheck?
Only you can decide that.
And be ready to negotiate. Know your worth, especially in a high-pressure environment like Deloitte.
Okay, so here's a question for our listeners. Imagine you're sitting down with a potential Deloitte employer, right?
Okay, I like this.
What are the top 3 questions you'd ask them based on what you've learned from these reviews?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What would be your deal breakers? Would you ask about, the work-life balance in specific departments? Or their management style? Or maybe how they handle flexible work requests?
All great questions, and it's not just about the questions themselves, it's about how they answer them.
Exactly. Are they being honest and upfront? Or are they dodging the tough stuff?
Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
These reviews are a starting point. They give you a glimpse, but they're not the whole story.
Right. Talk to people who actually work or have worked at Deloitte, get their perspective.
Go to industry events, network, do your research.
Don't be afraid to dig deep.
Because finding the right job is kind of like finding the right pair of shoes, right?
Okay, I like this analogy.
It's got to fit well, be comfortable, and take you where you want to go.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our Deloitte deep dive.
It's been fun.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, stay curious, stay informed, and always ask the tough questions. Good luck out there.